It says the government and National Democratic Front negotiating panels must set parameters they should observe when peace talks resume in April. The Commission on Appointments confirms the nomination of Leonor Briones as Secretary of Education. The Department of Foreign Affairs says China recognizes the Philippines' sovereign rights over Benham Rice. The Manila International Airport Authority and air carriers signed an agreement exempting overseas Filipino workers from paying terminal fees effective April 30 this year.
This is PTV News. Good evening. I'm Catherine Vidal with Richmond Cruz and Sharms Espina. In the news tonight, agreements or contracts are legal pieces of documents that spell out all issues clearly in colors of black and white, eliminating all gray areas that cloud or confuse and holding both parties into stricter accountability. Small wonder President Rodrigo Duterte demands a clear-cut set of guidelines for a bilateral ceasefire which will erase all doubts of CPP and DF's ability or lack thereof to rein in and control its armed wing. This report from Sweden, Velado.
To ensure that the peace talks will push through smoothly and achieve success, President Rodrigo Duterte said the government and National Democratic Front, or NDF, must set parameters to be observed by two camps when negotiations resume in April. The president announced this during the first General Assembly of League of Municipalities of the Philippines. The chief executive added he still supports the peace talks despite reported fresh attacks by the New People's Army.
I want a ceasefire that is reduced in writing and the parameters clearly shown. Saan tayo papunta at anong gawin natin kung pumalpak. We have to pray for everything and parang medyo still vague until now. I cannot expound on it further. But yung may mga must do para maabot natin yung kapayapaan.
Presidential spokesperson Ernesto Abella shared the said instruction from the president was also discussed on Monday night during the meeting of the National Security Council's Executive Committee.
On the peace process, the president acknowledged the joint statement of the GPH and NDF peace panels on the intent to resume formal peace talks. To ensure that genuine peace talks are realized, the President asked both panels to agree on clear parameters for ceasefire and the talks.
The government and representatives of NDF have agreed last Saturday to resume formal peace talks. The fourth round of talks is scheduled to happen on the first week of April. For PTV News, Sweden, Velado.
The war on drugs, the Leila de Lima issue, and tax reforms were among the topics tackled during President Rodrigo Duterte's dinner with majority senators in Malacanang last night. The two-hour dinner was reported personal and very light, with the president seeking no favors from the legislators. More details from Ria Fernandez.
Very light in conversation.
This is how Senator J.V. Ejercito described their intimate dinner with President Rodrigo Duterte on Tuesday. Majority senators were present in the dinner except Senators Gringo Nasan, Cheese Escudero, and Panfilo Lacson. According to Ejercito, what happened was just a simple conversation and no favors from the president.
In fairness to the president, wala siyang hiniling, wala siyang tinulak, wala siyang inendorso, wala siyang tinanong tungkol sa investigation. So very light lang.
The biggest issue they talked about was war on drugs. The president pointed out the need to revive Oplan Tokhang to address the drug problem. He also condemned extrajudicial killings. The president also mentioned an information from international intel implicating Senator Leila de Lima to drug trade.
Well, he's saying that yung mga evidence against them ay parang international international intelligence, no, supplied, no. It's not only the local ang nag-supply ng intel report against De Lima. Hanggang doon lang, no. Parang yun lang inaalala ko sa kanya, pero nag-explain lang niya na talagang merong, kumbaga, hindi trumped up charges that there are basis, no, for filing those charges.
They also talked about tax reforms and federalism. Meanwhile, death penalty, martial law, confirmation of DNR Secretary Gina Lopez, as well as Senate reorganization were not tackled. The president's known critic, Senator Antonio Trillanes IV, sees no problem with the intimate dinner. For PTV News, Ria Fernandez.
The powerful Commission on Appointments has approved the nomination of Leonor Briones as Secretary of Education. The 76-year-old Briones got the nod of the panel after almost 4 hours of confirmation proceedings. Questions raised by Commission members included her physical fitness to lead DepEd, further improving the school curriculum to make it more relevant to the times, and the spending backlog at the DepEd. CE Education Committee Chair Bam Aquino expressed confidence that Secretary Briones will lead the charge to provide quality education for every Filipino. Also confirmed by the CA were 45 senior military officers, as well as Quezon City Mayor Herbert Bautista as Army reservist with the rank of a colonel.
House Solons who defied the majority vote on the death penalty bill lost their posts today, the last day of session before the Lenten break. Former President, now Pampanga Representative Gloria Macapagal Arroyo was ousted as Deputy Speaker. 11 other Solons lost their committee chairmanships. More details from Jervis Manahan.
Congressmen didn't know they were in for a surprise on their last session day before they go on Holy Week break. House leaders who voted against the death penalty were all fired from their posts. This includes Congresswoman Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, who was ousted as Deputy Speaker. 11 congressmen who voted against or were absent during the voting were also ousted from their committee chairmanships. Meanwhile, Speaker Alvarez belied reports saying he gave out bonuses to congressmen who voted in favor of death penalty.
Pahingi. Wala akong natatanggap eh.
So, kayo daw nagbibigay? Wala akong binibigay ka naman?
Walang ganun.
Alvarez says he doesn't mind burning bridges with congressmen with this move.
If I'm burning bridges, so be it. Wala tayong magagawa dyan. Oh.
But you don't feel
We have to
you
do.
lost support?
No. Okay lang yan. You know, I can always put yung speakership sa ano.
The House session will be on break starting tomorrow and will resume on May 2. During the break, they will be going on a 12-day caravan across the country. Speaker Alvarez says this doesn't violate any rules of the House.
Junket yan kasi so far hindi naman kami lalampas doon sa budget na pwedeng gamitin para doon sa mga out-of-town committee hearings.
For the PTV News, Jervis Manahan.
Acting Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo says China recognizes Philippine sovereign rights over the Benham Rise. In a television interview, Manalo said China has informed the Philippines that they are not disputing Benham Rise, an undersea plateau off eastern Luzon. Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana earlier expressed concern over reported sightings of Chinese survey ships in the area. Manalo said they have sought clarification from the Chinese on why their vessels were there.
Meanwhile, Foreign Affairs spokesperson Charles Jose says the Philippines will strengthen its maritime defense capability to secure Benham Rise. He also reiterated that the Philippines respects freedom of navigation and the right of innocent passage of other countries. Kim Feliciano tells us more.
The Department of Foreign Affairs spokesperson and Assistant Secretary Charles Jose reiterated that the Benham Rise is clearly a part of the country's continental shelf and exclusive economic zone or EEZ.
Inaward na sa atin ito ng United Nations, no? Noong 2012, yung United Nations Commission on the Limits of Continental Shelf. So, malinaw na bahagi ito ng maritime territory ng Philippines. And because of this, ang Pilipinas lamang ang may exclusive na sovereign rights and jurisdiction para mag-explore, mag-exploit, conserve, and manage yung mga natural resources.
According to Jose, the government respects the freedom of navigation and the right of innocent passage of other countries. With regards to the Benham Rise security, Jose said that DFA aims to strengthen the country's maritime defense and capability to further assert the sovereignty rights and jurisdiction in the area.
Malinaw na sa pagitan ng Pilipinas at China na nire-recognize nila ang claim ng Philippines dito sa Benham Rice at hindi nila china-challenge ito. Part ng ano natin, no, responsibility natin ay palakasin ang ating capability, no? Maritime defense capability, maritime domain awareness. Nang sa gayon ay ma-assert natin ang ating sovereign rights dito at maprotektahan natin ito.
For PTV News, Kim Feliciano.
Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Salvador Panelo says the Department of Justice and the Office of the Solicitor General are studying possible cases against Senator Antonio Trillanes IV over his alleged destabilization efforts against the Duterte administration. Panelo made the statement in a reaction to the report that Trillanes and others believed linked to the destabilization plot can be charged with inciting to sedition. According to Panelo, the public statements of Trillanes against the Duterte administration can be used against the senator.
You know, when you incite people to hate a particular public official, that's inciting to sedition without going through the requirements of sedition where there is an armed uprising against the government. But if you keep on repeating the same allegations like he's a murderer, is corrupt, without even presenting evidence, I don't think you're doing that as a public service. Because if it is a public service, then what you should do is to file a case, not just besmirch the reputation of a particular public official. That's going against, that's beyond the mantle of freedom of expression.
More allegations of corruption committed by vested interests in the previous dispensation was brought to the attention of the Justice Secretary by a longtime nemesis of the former president and his allies. PTV correspondent Marita Moahe reports on the expected silence and non-comment of the Justice Secretary pending review on the veracity and reliability of the documents submitted today to back up this serious accusation.
Some high officials from the past administration are included in the list of those allegedly involved in corruption. This is the content of the documents presented by Pastor Boy Saicon to Secretary of Justice Vitaliano Aguirre II during a meeting.
Well, mga evidence of corruption, involving the past administration, tungkol sa gambling, meron din sa contributions ng candidates na hindi diniklara sa kanilang sose. Marami.
For now, the Secretary cannot disclose names as he admits that he still needs to read and study these documents. But then he hinted that this includes very high-ranking public officials.
Yung pinakamataas ng mga opisyalis.
When asked about Saicon's credibility, Aguirre replies,
Kilala naman niyo si Boy Saicon eh. Ang kwan dito is bearer siya, pero ang dapat tingnan niyo yung kanyang dala-dala. In other words, messenger lang siya eh. Pero talagang highly credible yung evidence niya na binigay sa akin.
Included in the documents turned over to Aguirre are those pertaining to gambling, PAGCOR, and the COMELEC. For PTV News, Marita Moahe.
The Philippine National Police is asking Vice President Leni Robredo to provide details on her palit ulo allegation in connection with the anti-illegal drugs campaign of the government. PNP spokesperson Jonardo Carlos said that if true, such practice is not condoned by the AFP. According to Robredo, the scheme involves the apprehension of relatives if the wanted drug suspects cannot be found. The vice president has also accused the police of abuses, including warrantless searches in urban poor areas in Metro Manila.
Yung po sinasabing palit ulo na kung wala, hindi pumunta yung drug suspect o yung drug personality, ang kapalit ay yung kamag-anak. Clearly, hindi ito tama. Kung ito'y nangyayari o nangyari, ang hiling namin ay maging specific para yung, kasi hindi nga ito sanction. Hindi ito wala doon sa polisiya o procedure ng taphang o tukhang.
Meanwhile, Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Salvador Panelo urged Vice President Robredo to study thoroughly the data on the government's anti-illegal drugs campaign. Panelo was reacting to the Vice President's online video message to be aired during the annual meeting of the Commission on Narcotic Drugs. Panelo described it as not only misplaced but unfortunate.
No, we can only appeal to the Vice President's sense to study more and to listen more to what is the reality on the ground. It is not true, as she stated in her video, that this is the result, the extrajudicial killings are the result of police operations. Not necessarily true. Some of them, yes, but most of them are coming from the infighting between the members of the syndicate, because the other side want to silence those who surrendered, and those who surrender want to defend themselves. That's why there are more extrajudicial killings resulting from that rather than from the police operations. Now, with respect to, according to her, that the administration should concentrate more on the war on poverty, again, I think the Vice President has been misinformed. This administration precisely is bent on lifting the state of economic want of our countrymen. And in fact, the Anti-Poverty Commission, when we met the other day, has even geared a total of 50 billion pesos in order to determine exactly what this commission will do to help the poor.
On a deeper level of consciousness, the current and long-standing illegal drugs problem is a complex health and social issue linked to poverty and social inequality bullets and casting a climate of fear that fear alone cannot solve. PTV correspondent Diane Querer reports on a more proactive and interactive approach adopted by the former capital city based on a grassroots level strategy of awareness, rehabilitation, and re-assimilation of survivors of the illegal drug trade back into the mainstream rather than purely retribution.
With the objective of promoting community-based programs against illegal drugs, the local government of Quezon City inaugurated its Special Drug Education Center, or SDEC, in the city. SDEC serves as a venue in promoting preventive and developmental services for the out-of-school youth and street children. SDEC has 3 floors. There is a children's play area, a counseling room, training room, and doctor's office. According to Dangerous Drugs Board Chairman Secretary Benjamin Reyes, community-based interventions, for instance having an SDEC, are important to combat problems against illegal drugs.
I think it's more important to understand yung establishment ng systems is more important. No? The mere fact na ngayon na-recognize yung kakulangan, yung sistema sa community level at ginagawan po natin ang paraan, I think that would institutionalize everything.
QC Vice Mayor Joy Belmonte shares that the local government needs the cooperation of the barangay captains to effectively roll out the preventive measures against illegal drugs.
Dadalhin dito yung bata, alamin natin kung taga saan yung bata, tapos hahanapin natin yung mga magulang. Pero in terms of ensuring that the child comes regularly for counseling, for the different intervention programs, we will be relying on the assistance of the barangay councils for the protection of children.
Meanwhile, Quezon City Police District stressed that the local police does not have the sole responsibility in fighting the illegal drug problem.
Yung pong ating anti-illegal drugs campaign, kumpleto dito. Enforcement is just a part of it. And dito sa atin sa Quezon City, pati yung prevention and rehabilitation, binibigyan po ng tutok.
4 special drug education centers have been inaugurated in Quezon City. Aside from that in Barangay Batasan Hills, there are also SDECs in Barangay Milagrosa, Barangay Greater Lagro, and Barangay Tandang Sora. The establishment of SDECs is in compliance with the DDB Board Regulation No. 1, Series of 2003, DILG Memorandum Circular No. 2006150, and QC Ordinance No. SP 2358, Series of 2016. For PTV News, Diane Querer.
PTV News returns with the business stories right after some important messages. Stay with us. Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Salvador Panelo says BIR officials of the previous administration are liable for the tax case involving Mighty Corporation. According to Panelo, these officials, if there is probable cause, may be charged for criminal negligence.
Especially the one that I understand the previous Aquino administration has prepared, which they did not file.
So have you determined why they did not file?
Well, I think obviously they're protecting the mighty cigarette. Because if you have a case filed prepared and you don't file it, there's only one reason for that. You're protecting the respondent.
For business news, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas Governor Amando Tetanco Jr. said market players have started to price in a 25 basis point rate hike in the United States at the end of the Federal Open Market Committee, or FOMC's March 14 to 15 policy review. But Tetanco noted that foreign exchange trading could still grow more volatile in the coming days. Markets widely expect U.S. policymakers to proceed with a rate increase after FOMC members cited the need for a rate hike in separate speeches earlier this month. During the process of normalization in the FED policy, Tetanco said some volatility in financial markets will be seen, particularly the foreign exchange market and stock market as well. Tetanco added the Philippines just have to manage its own markets in such a way that it doesn't experience destabilizing moves or sharp fluctuations in market prices.
The Bureau of Internal Revenue has brought the 2017 tax campaign to the tax-rich Central Visayas in a bid of hitting the 1.8 trillion peso collection target for 2017. Commissioner Cesar Dulay asked individual and corporate taxpayers in the region to help the BIR in raising more money to attain the ambitious infrastructure and economic programs of President Rodrigo Duterte aimed at reducing incidents of poverty nationwide. Dulay noted the Cebu revenue region has consistently achieved a double-digit growth rate for the past 5 years. However, it posted just a 2.98% growth rate in 2016. Among the programs to be undertaken by the revenue region this year to enhance the tax take are the Run After Tax Evaders or RATE, Oplan Candado, profiling, benchmarking, and updating of zonal values. The latest labor force survey of the Philippine Statistics Authority showed the employment rate fell by 0.9 percentage points to 93.4% in January 2017 from 94.3% in the same period last year. In a separate statement, the National Economic and Development Authority said the employment rate is equivalent to 39.3 million employed Filipinos, down by 1.34 million. Meanwhile, the unemployment rate increased by 0.9 percentage points to 6.6% from 5.7% in the same comparable period. According to NEDA, the increase in the unemployment rate was partly due to the temporary nature of election-related jobs and the job losses in the agriculture sector, which has been greatly affected by typhoons that hit the country last December and January. Results of the latest Fresh Graduates Report of Job Street Philippines show that fresh graduates who enter the law and legal services industry were paid the most within an average monthly salary of 27,124 pesos in 2016. This was followed by the healthcare industry at 23,216 pesos and the journalism field with 21,777 pesos. The previous year's top-paying sector for fresh graduates, which was the IT industry, slipped to fourth place at 21,703 pesos compared to the 22,567 pesos in 2015.
Let's head on to our weather update tonight. Pag-asa has raised a gale warning for fisher folks and small boats. This warning is valid until tomorrow morning. All are advised not to venture out into sea, particularly over the extreme seaboards of northern Luzon. Now, the northeast monsoon is packed with winds reaching up to 50 to 60 kilometers per hour, and sea condition is rough to very rough. Now, large sea vessels are also alerted against big waves reaching up to 4.5 meters. Now, the northeast monsoon once again is acting up over the northern provinces of Luzon, while the rainy weather system, the tail end of a cold front, will rain up portions of Bicol provinces and eastern portion of Visayas, as well as here in northern Luzon. Now, cloudy skies with light to moderate rains and isolated thunderstorms will be experienced over Bicol region and eastern Visayas. Cloudy skies meanwhile over Batanes, a group of islands, while drier weather condition over the regions of Ilocos, Cordillera, and the rest of Cagayan Valley. As for metro cities tomorrow, Metro Manila will experience sunny skies during the day and possible brief light rains late in the afternoon. Possible high will be at around 32 degrees Celsius, while Metro Cebu and Metro Davao has higher chance of experiencing thunderstorms in the afternoon or evening with a possible high of 30 to 31 degrees Celsius. Now let's check out our Asia cities outlook for tomorrow. Beijing and as well as here in Taiwan and Seoul, South Korea will experience cloudy skies tomorrow, while Hong Kong will more likely experience light rain showers in the afternoon or evening. As for Singapore, thunderstorms will be experienced in the afternoon with a possible high of 32 degrees Celsius. And that's the latest only here on PTV Info Weather. This has been Ice Martinez. Have a pleasant evening.
Up next, overseas Filipino workers will no longer be required to pay airport terminal fees. We'll give you the details after this short break.
GSIS benefits and programs. Pag-uusapan natin sa GSIS.
Po ng Davao is 500 pesos na lang yung pera ko. May kakilala ko na sabi niya, gamitin mo tong wall ko. One of the staff ni President, nag-iwan siya ng isang maliit na papel. Tinawagan ko yung number nandoon. Ikaw ang napili namin to paint the official portrait. Pagkita ni President, niyakap niya ako. I'm just a fisherman's son. Gusto mong survive sa life.
It is a dream of Maki that we all look forward to, seeing more and more Filipinos succeed in life.
Kung lahat tayo magtutulungan, angat lahat.
Overseas Filipino workers are the beneficiaries of an agreement forged between the Manila International Airport Authority and air carriers. The full story from Eunice Tamonte.
Starting on April 30, our overseas Filipino workers can now expect a hassle-free and fast transaction upon going in and out of our country. This is because Manila International Airport Authority, or MIA, together with 40 airline carriers, have signed a memorandum of agreement honoring the exemption of OFWs in terminal fees. Department of Transportation Secretary Art Tugade and MIA General Manager Edmond Real led the MOA signing earlier at Pasay City.
Alam mo naman, mga overseas worker yan, bawat piso, bawat dolyar na kinikita niyan, hibla ng pawis ang puhunan dyan. Kaya bawat dolyar na ibibigay mong savings nila kahit konti, malaking bagay sa kanila yan.
MIA General Manager Edmond Real clarified that this exemption is based on Republic Act No. 8042, Section 35 or the Migrant Workers and Overseas Filipinos Act of 1995.
Sa amin walang prescription ho yun. Wala tayong prescription. Pag hindi ho na-refund, pwede ho nilang puntahan ng aming opisina. Pwede ho nilang i-refund yung mga dati ho nilang nagamit at hindi ho na-refund pag alis po nila.
Different airline carriers also supported this move of the Duterte administration to also help the OFWs in their workload, including the president of the Philippine Airlines.
We are supporting this program of government because it will really benefit the legitimate OFW.
Some of the OFWs expressed their joy upon hearing the good news, like this group of OFWs bound to Middle East.
Siyempre, masaya po. Bakit po? Kasi wala nang babayaran.
Siyempre, masaya kasi gastos pa yun eh.
Nakakatipid.
It can be recalled that on August 1, 2012, domestic terminal fee was implemented, while it was in February 1, 2015 that the International Terminal Fee Integration Program was implemented. Air carriers shall honor the exemption of exempted international passengers, including OFWs, pilgrims, Philippine Sports Commission delegates, and other authorized by law, and the Office of the President traveling outside the Philippines.
Ginawa ho ng ating Pangulo ito pagkat binibigyan buhay niya ang kanyang pangako, pagkat mahal po kayo ng ating Pangulo, mahal po ng sambayanan ang mga overseas workers.
For PTV News, Eunice Amante.
Just because one can start, operate, or run a car doesn't necessarily mean he or she can drive, much more be granted a license to do so. Let's face it, the country's sad and almost hopeless state of traffic is due in part to weak enforcement of the rules of the road and drivers who violate them and get away with it. The solution, remedy the problem at its front end by limiting the issuance of licenses to new applicants and those seeking renewal in this report from Julius de Samboron.
Careful driving is the secret of 18-year motorist Mang Teofilo. As a driver, he reminds every motorist to think not only theirs but also the welfare of others. Discipline must be imposed.
Kahawak ang truck, dapat marunong ka rin, hindi basta-basta kasampa ka lang. Kung di mo alam, mababangga ka talaga pa ganun. At saka ingat ka lang sa kalsada.
For Mang Nathaniel, a 7-year motorcycle rider, he supports the government drive to tighten the implementation of traffic rules.
Saka yung actual driving talagang dapat na istrikto para bago lumabas ng kalsada, naipasa niya talaga kung paano mag-drive. Kasi hindi lang sila ang apektado mga kasama sa daan.
In an exclusive interview with PTV News, LTO Chief Assistant Secretary Edgar Galvante emphasized that they are ready to implement a stricter process or screening for the issuance of driver's license. This is in line with Senator Tito Soto's statement during the Senate Committee on Public Services hearing led by Senator Grace Poe regarding the Tanay bus tragedy. Soto cited observations that 50% of drivers in the Philippines will fail in a real examination because of their reckless and lack of exact knowledge in driving. Filipino drivers who do not follow traffic rules also contribute to the worsening congestion on their country's roads. Poe, on the other hand, explains that she wanted to inspect LTO and observe how drivers pass the driving test.
While ang life ng lisensya 5 years, hindi man ibig sabihin nito every 5 years lang yung pag-evaluate sa kanila, kundi even when they are cited for some violation, they might be required to undergo. At kahit di naman maayos yung driver naman, pero yung kanyang inoperate na vehicle naman kumbaga marami ng diferensya, makaka-contribute din to sa pagkakaroon ng mga traffic accident.
Galvante clarified that they are changing the procedures and will have separate examination for professional and non-professional drivers. Currently, there is only one exam for both professional and non-professional drivers. They assure that every driver holding steering wheels has enough experience and training.
Yung examen for a heavy vehicle driver, iba naman doon sa magdadrive lang ng taxi. Pag in-evaluate natin yung aplikante for license ng professional to drive a bus, ang testing sa kanya parang patungkol doon sa magiging driver siya ng bus. Ginagawa natin, yung magagawa natin kaagad, ginagawa na natin at i-implement yan as soon as possible. Although yung testing siguro medyo matatagal-tagalan ito kasi ina-assemble namin yung material para ito ang gagawin ngayong adapin na pamantayan.
Earlier, LTO announced that they will raise the standards for driving schools, including requiring them to have a test track for student drivers and test the accreditation for driving instructors. For PTV News, Julius Desamboron.
Light trucks will now have to ply routes other than EDSA and Shaw Boulevard on certain hours of the day. This is due to the light truck ban, which will be fully enforced along the two major Metro Manila roads this coming Monday, March 20. A 3-day dry run on the ban started today, as we hear again from Eunice Samonte.
To alleviate the worsening problem in traffic every single day, Metropolitan Manila Development Authority or MMDA, together with other government agencies, are now crafting ways to find solution to the problem. That includes the implementation of the light truck bans starting on Monday. And to measure the effectiveness of the proposed solution, a dry run of the truck ban has been exercised today along EDSA, particularly in Shaw Boulevard, going to Mandaluyong and Pasig City. According to MMDA General Manager Tim Orbos, 3 million trucks are using EDSA every day, contributing to the heavy road. The Metro Manila Council also agreed for its full implementation of the project on the 20th with 2,000 pesos fee for the violators. The uniform light truck ban will be implemented from Mondays to Fridays, excluding weekends and the holidays. According to MMDA GM Team Orbos, the trucks carrying perishable goods shall now secure an exemption from MMDA. For PTV News, Eunice Samonte.
Trimming the fat off and streamlining the bloated bureaucracy to eliminate fraud and shady deals and eventually restore public trust to the agency is the paramount concern of the Land Transportation Office. Again, PTV correspondent Julius Desamboron reports on other programs of the agency aimed at road safety, driver discipline, and cleaner vehicle emissions, even as it continues to play the waiting game on the backlog of registered and paid for license plates currently mired in litigation.
The Land Transportation Office is complying with President Rodrigo Roa Duterte's directive for a clean and no corruption government. This is the assurance of LTO Chief Assistant Secretary Edgar Galvante.
Siguro nakarating sa madla na kami ngayon nahaharap sa isang sakdal. Gusto lang namin i-assure sa publiko na
hindi yung mga paratang doon hindi totoo, mali yun. Yung sinusunod nating pamantayan o procedure in procuring all this, according to the rules and regulation.
Aside from road safety, worthiness, and motorist discipline, LTO is also focusing on environmental protection. In line with this, penalties are being imposed on those violating anti-air pollution or smoke belching rules.
Kaya nga yung aming MBIS, pinipilit namin ma-improve agad dito, makakuha tayo ng mga bagong equipment para yung smoke emission nila na titingnan din natin at tumutupad sila sa standards again.
On the issue of vehicle plate number backlog, LTO explains that it still depends on a Supreme Court decision.
Hindi pa rin tayo nakakasiguro kung kailan mariresolve yung sa usapin sa Supreme Court at saka sa COA, but ang ginagawa natin dito, you're following another mode of procurement and we hope to finish the process within the year.
Meanwhile, ASEC Galvante assures that they seriously did their sworn duty following the trust of the President and the public. For PTV News, Julius Desamboron.
The Department of Agriculture is intensifying its rice hybridization promotion activities to help meet its rice self-sufficiency target by 2020. Agriculture Secretary Manny Piñol said his department will launch a rice derby contest to determine which variety produces more yield per hectare. He said a contest result will serve as the government's guide as to what variety to distribute to farmers. In line with this initiative, the DA has forged a partnership with private seed companies to assist in technology transfers.
Organic farming and cooking is all about bringing the best natural products from the soil to the supper table without, if possible, the slightest use of chemicals or artificial ingredients or elements throughout the entire process. PTV correspondent Joy Gumatay covered this auspicious celebration in the president's hometown on this worldwide movement towards achieving well-being and longevity through adopting natural methods in the way we cultivate and cook the food we eat.
At first, one cannot easily recognize that this delicious-looking chicken pesto pasta is made from 100% organic ingredients. The chef behind this healthy recipe is Rodelio Dalisay, an advocate of organic farming and cooking in Davao City since 2008.
I feel young, I feel energetic. Actually, if you really want to extend your life and talagang be healthy and be fit, I think it would be better for you or for us to really think about the food we eat.
Aling Belen shared a similar testimony after surviving her breast cancer operation last year. We noticed her busily purchasing organic vegetables and fruits in a city government-organized bazaar in celebration of the Organic Agriculture Day.
Parang magaan, tapos hindi ka madaling mapagod, tapos maganda ang wala na yung arthritis, wala na kasi hindi na rin nagkakarne, yun lang mga gulay lang talaga at saka fruits.
With the implementation of Organic Ordinance in 2010, the city government of Davao has been non-stop in campaigning for organic living, not just to senior citizens but to the entire population. The Davao City Agriculture Office believes that food free from fertilizers and other synthetic chemicals are safer and more nutritious to eat, as well as less harmful to the environment.
The bigger the organic food production of a certain place, the lesser the number of people in the hospitals. There is an alternative way of food production. There is an alternative, in fact, better way, safer way for food production.
However, despite the all-out support of the local government to the expansion of organic agriculture in Davao, the acceptance level of the people to such idea remains at a low 5%. Nevertheless, the city government is hopeful that such number will increase through time as the people start to realize the importance of taking care of their health and well-being. Aside from conducting bazaars, the city government also provides free trainings, seedlings, and capital funds to organic farmers so they may find it easier to sell their produce to the public. These initiatives are all for raising a strong, healthy, and productive community, helping together in making Davao more progressive than it is today. For PTV News, Joy Gumatay, Davao City.
Members of a vendor group